Hey folks, it's Phil, the miniature model maker, coming to you again, and we are going back to my channel like we always do. There we are. Perfect. We are set. Let me get my windows how they need to be. Beautiful, beautiful. Live now, watch now. I can see chat. I've got this up. Fantastic. Here we go. So, the first stream we did today, I had gone through and removed primer from. Mute myself here. Remove the primer from the parts in order to get some detail and see where imperfections are. So that was the first part, and I used my knives and some sandpaper to do that. And off stream, I went and did a lot of the other parts. So what I'm going to do today, this stream, is go and do some sanding, because those parts are in good shape. And I have gently scraped away the majority of the primer on these, just to save myself sandpaper and see where you are. But the important part was gently. I wasn't using the knife to fix anything unless it were a flat panel that I knew the knife could fix. But here we can see even places where when I was scraping, we saw the knife go and skipped and dug and skipped and dug. So a lot of stuff yet to do, and that's what the sandpaper is going to be for. So the first thing I want to do here is pull this out so I can show how I use my 3M pads. Just take that like so. This is a double-sided adhesive, which is pretty cool. That's my 800. I want 600. And all I'm going to do is lay it down, cut it out, just like so. Very easy. And now I have a pad that I can cut little strips from. And I can toss that away. And maybe, why don't I be smart while I have this other side, and we'll put the 800 on that, because I do want to use both. Oop, here we are. And the 800. So we're going to be doing both gross detail removal and slight polishing of the parts in this step. Smoothing out, not really polishing. That polishing wasn't quite the right term, but there we are. And this little piece will be fine. So we'll start, let's just start with this. This one gave me some trouble because it's rounded and the knife didn't do so well on it. But the 3M pad is going to do great because it can conform to rounded surfaces. Ooh. And I am not super concerned about the loss of little details on this part. I just really don't care. And some of the bigger details may survive the sanding, and if so, and if they're still deep enough that I can go through and scribe, I will. But my main concern is just getting it smooth. Getting all of these little surface imperfections off the kit any remaining glue that was on it off, and all of that. So we're detailing now. We've finished with the gross build, if you want to call it that. The high scale stuff where we're doing just little major big steps. And we're kind of refining down and down. And I don't mind at all if any of this black, the primer, stays. Because that's, one, it's filling in small gaps. But in other places, it may act as a pre-shade. But I'm going to go through here and see all up in here. If I can get up there with this, I will. If I can't, I'll grab one of my sanding sticks. Okay, because that's where I had glue, and it's really rough. So I want to make this a nice smooth surface for the primer, eventual primer. I'm not going to paint this for quite some time. I just want to make sure that it looks good. But I also need to be careful to not sand that part away completely. So if need be, I'll grab one of my spin blades, come up here along the edge where I can feel glue. Here we go. Glue that I use to fill gaps, and smooth that out. Okay, and we'll go ahead and do this other side because I know it's like that too. Here we are. Cool. And now we'll go back to sanding. And that's already filled up, gooped up. That's crazy. I was pushing kind of hard. So, toss it away. Grab another section. Where did my knife go? There it is. And we'll make it a little bit bigger this time. I don't want to go too big because I know the edges are gonna be what gets used up the most. We'll just trim this paper while I can. While we're here. Blop, blop. Smush it down, and this is the 600. And we can see along in here where there are depressions. So that's when we're going to use our sanding stick on a flat surface. And just sand it down flat. Same thing here in the back. This is a really simple process. Just smooth it out, sand it down until the primer is not there anymore, or that the primer is in a deep crack like the space between these two, so you know your gap is filled. If you want to be really nitpicky, you can go ahead and sand it all the way down, like I'm doing with this part. And then below. You may see little imperfections or inconsistencies in the surface even after you've removed primer, like I'm seeing some here. Because some, when you're using an airbrush, primer doesn't always get into all of the cracks. There. And then here too, I'm going to use this piece. Nice. And now use this again to just run it along the top here. There are small little spots that I see that are probably not showing up on the camera, which to me indicate this piece is not level. There are misalignments in the surface. There we are. That's already looking much better. Good. And we'll touch this up here. I'm not going to do too much on this. I don't want to wear it down too far. But I am seeing some signs that it needs to be hit. And that's much better. Yes, still not great. Look at it from different angles. Sometimes one view looks good and others don't. This is actually a lot more inconsistent than I had thought. But I still don't want to go all the way down to where that internal detail is. There. That's a whole lot better. And then this little guy. Going to be gentle because it's a small piece that can be easily worn down. we are. And make sure to clean your parts frequently so the dust doesn't get in the way and obscure problems. Okay, then now we go and sand down this side. It's a pretty simple process. Nothing super fancy to see here. It's just consistency. Okay. And let's see what the 800 does. And I'm very lightly going over this. Very, very lightly. So with such a with such a fine grit, it's easy to fill it up. And all I'm really trying to accomplish with this is smooth out any problems I may have created with the 600. Boop, boop, boop. And there we go. That piece is done. Almost. Almost done. Let me do one more thing here. Going to use the knife this time. This is just the blade has just been honed, so it's smoother. And that's what we're going to get. Okay. Fair enough on that. So let's take this piece and see how it goes. Should be a little bit easier. Yeah, see how all those little black specks just go away? Those are minor surface imperfections that are disappearing. And you don't need to press hard. You shouldn't be pressing hard on this. We're just trying to smooth everything out. Let the primer fill what gaps it's going to fill. And let the sandpaper just smooth out any little bumps and things. Any burrs that we created when scribing. Or any small inconsistencies we've created when doing our work. Because try as we might, we are not going to get all these parts to fit together perfectly. And this is a good step to put on music or go over to my YouTube channel and listen to me work on these other projects. A little semi-ASMR. My YouTube channel is Miniature Model Maker, just like here. And the icon, the profile picture is the same, so you can recognize me there. That's just getting completely clogged up already. That's insane. Thank goodness sandpaper is so cheap. Because I go through a whole lot of it. And at this point, the 600 is so filled up that the 800 is actually having better effect. But once we're done with these rounded bits, we'll go back to using the sticks. That'll give us a slightly better effect with our paper. This is a mold inconsistency, so I'm going to use the 600 to fix it. Here we are. Fresh sandpaper for the win. Very nice, very nice. Okay. And there we are. That part is good enough. Let's try one of the little ones while we're here. This one was a little bit tricky to scrape down. And it's a flat panel, so we can use our flat sticks. Much better. Much, much better. Turn it over and repeat. And then we'll hit we'll hit our angled parts. Or our smaller panels, I should say. Probably the better way to describe them. So one other side effect of this is it'll help sharpen your panels too. Because the way these are molded, the edges aren't always straight. They're not always good angles. They can be a little bit soft at times. So this helps to improve your panel shape and feel, look. we'll take our 800. $600 first, and just run it over. Get the worst of the inconsistencies out, but remember this is a slightly rounded part, so don't go crazy and end up flattening it out. That's why I'm going in small circles. It's almost like I'm buffing it rather than sanding it. And there is a mold line running through the middle of this. Here we are. This poor little stick just doesn't want to hold on to this sandpaper. Here we go. Another part down. Let's try an arm so we can get it. Use the sticks and see how they really hold up. Here we are, right here. And use your nails to run over the seams you're going over. This sometimes at this scale of detailing, it can be hard to see. But your nail will feel it. There'll be a little catch on it. And this arm is so screwed up that I would have to cut it to fix it, and I don't want to deal with that. Not at the level of work I'm willing to put into this one. like I said, tabletop standard. And this may be already even past what I would normally consider tabletop standard, but I wanted to have an example of it. Okay, this little guy. And why am I not just taking a piece of sandpaper in my hand and running it over these things? Because that's less flat. I've tried it, and I did some when I was. Oops, those are. We're gonna just cut those off then. When I was taking off the larger amount of primer, I did do that with some of these. But the sticks are much flatter and more consistently flat when sanding than my fingers are. So I use the sanding sticks. Plus, I paid for them, so why not use them, right? Okay. And this is turning out pretty well. Happy with that. Give this up here just a little touch. And we're good. On to the next piece. Let's do a shoulder. So these are a little bit trickier. They're slightly rounded. So the sponge is better on the sides. You can see that's cleaning up really nicely. There are two little spaces here. That might actually be a detail. But this thing down here is probably created from when I was scribing. Okay. And on to the other side. This one's better. Okay. And use our sticks now. Remember, we're buffing, not sanding. If that makes sense. We're not trying to remove a lot. We're just trying to even out details. So gentle movement is the way to go. And we don't want to remove so much that we damage the part either. Damage the mold. Sculpt is probably the better. Well, hello, number 2. How are you today? Welcome, welcome. I'm sanding down my parts on the EXS. We are evening it out, getting rid of any little discrepancies, bumps, panel lines, not panel lines, mold lines, things that we don't want to show up when we are painting. So have you built artifacts before? Are you familiar with these little kits? And I'll be back in just a moment. Alright, I'm back. Thank you for waiting. So if you're curious how I got to this stage and haven't seen my previous streams, go ahead and go back and check the VODs. They're numbered in order, so it'll show you how everything well, not everything, how I got to this point and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Oh, it's a lot easier than I expected. Good. So I use the primer as a way to fill small gaps, but also to give a little bit of shade and color to the kit when it's going to stand and wait to be painted. And that may take quite a while. So I want it to look as good as it can. Bye-bye. Thank you for visiting. Okay, that's that piece. Let's try a leg. See what happens here. That's this, okay. Sorry, my glasses keep hitting the camera. Ooh, that's deep. Now the question is, why am I not sanding every surface on here? Because I don't want to get it off of all of the surfaces, like down here in these deeper areas. I want it to stay there, and hopefully it will become the next layer will be a good backfiller as well, because there are still some small details details in there, the divots that need to be filled in and all of that stuff. And I have to admit this is not the best model to be showcasing this technique with. But it's a realistic scenario. You're going to get models with this sort of detail and precision that are going to need to be cleaned. So you may as well see how it's done. Here we are. Let's go ahead and do this piece, because it's almost 4 o'clock, meaning I've been doing this for almost an hour, and I'm going to need to stop here soon. I'll just use this. there's some bad seams on the back of this, or just the back, the upper side of it. I'm going to have to replace all the sandpaper on these here shortly if this keeps up. Alright, let's go ahead and hit these sections here. Those get even. And now these. One more light pass. Because I see a couple small scrapes. Okay. That's done. So that is it for this stream. People watching in the future, thank you very much for coming by and checking this out. Look forward to more streams every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8 o'clock p.m. GMT. And I will catch up with you later. Bye-bye.